Today we are going to discuss about the fractions, right? You know that we have learned up to uh, four types of fractions in grade 6, and here in grade 7 we are going to discuss all the types, which means there are five types of fractions, right? The first one is unit fractions, right? The first one is unit fractions. I will give some examples, right? For the unit fractions: 1 over 2, 1 over 7, 1 over 100, 1 over 999. Likewise, I can write uh, some of these unit fractions. Here, as you can see, in the numerator, right? In the numerator, all the numerators are written as 1, right? So the unit means number 1, right? So it means if in a given fraction the numerator is 1, if they have given it as 1, it means the numerator equals to 1 in all the unit fractions, right? So unit fractions means the fractions which have 1 as the numerator, right? So in unit fractions the numerator must be 1, right? That's called as unit fraction. The second type is proper fractions, right? So I will write first some examples, then I will discuss what are proper fractions, right? Here 2 over 3, 9 over 10, 65 over 927, 11 over 20. Likewise, I can write many examples. We call the fractions as proper fractions if the numerator is always less than the denominator, right? I will make this whole thing a little bit, right? Here, proper fractions means the fractions which have a higher denominator than the numerator, right? So as you can see, 2 over 3 means numerator is 2, the denominator is 3, which means numerator is lower than the denominator, right? What about 9 over 10? It's also the same. Numerator is 9, denominator is 10. The denominator is higher than the numerator. What about this one? 65 over 927. 65 is less than 927, which means denominator is higher than the numerator, right? So here I have denoted it with an inequality mark, right? In this inequality mark, this open side shows always the higher side, and this is the smaller side. So it means the numerator is smaller than the denominator, right? So the next one, 11 over 20. As the other fractions, 11 is less than the denominator 20, which means it's also a proper fraction, right? I think that all of you have got this one, right? So then we will move to the next one, the third one, improper fractions, right? Improper fractions. Here, as you can see, The second one we discussed is proper fractions. The third one that we are going to discuss now is improper fractions. Improper means the opposite of proper fraction. So if we denote the proper fractions as the numerators which are less than the denominator, right? So the opposite way is what? Numerator is higher than the denominator. I will copy it from here, right? Denominator, like this, right? So then we have to find some examples. I will give you some examples. What about this? 9/7. As you can see, numerator is higher than the denominator, right? What about this? 10/, I will take 6, right? 10/6. 10/6. So as you can see, numerator is greater than the denominator 6, right? So likewise, I can write 935/270. 217 is less than the numerator 935. So it is also an improper fraction. Then what about this fraction? Is also an improper fraction because the numerator is greater than the denominator. So I have used that inequality mark. Now you know that this open side is the higher side, while this takes the lower side, right? Right. So up to here, we have discussed three types of fractions. What is the first one? Unit fractions, which always the numerator is 1. The proper fractions, which always the denominator is higher than the numerator. The third one, opposite of proper fractions, which means improper fractions. Denominator is always lower than the numerator, right? So here, as the fourth one, we are going to discuss about mixed fraction, right? For mixed fraction, I will take some examples. 1, 3/4. 2, 1/3. 7, 2/5. Here, as you can see, mixed fractions are a combination of a whole number and a fraction. Here, I will use another color to denote the whole numbers. Here, this is a whole number. Here, 2 is a whole number. 7 is a whole number. Then I will use blue color to highlight the fractions. Here, these are the fractions. So it means mixed fractions are the combination of whole number and a fraction, right? So we can write like this in a simple way: a combination of whole number and fraction. Whole number plus fraction. These are called as mixed fractions, right? Right. So under these mixed fractions, I'm going to discuss two types, right? Two core headings, right? The first one is, these are very important, right? How we are going to turn mixed fractions into improper fractions, right? The first one, mixed fractions into improper fractions. So I will take a mixed fractions. The first one, 1, 3/5. right? So how I'm going to turn it to improper fractions? First, I am going to multiply these two numbers, 4 into 1. So what is the answer? 4 into 1 is 4. Then I am going to add that number to the number 3. 4 into 1 is 4. 4 plus 3, 7. Right? So as the numerator of the improper fraction, I am going to put 7. Then I am not going to change this denominator. So for the improper fractions, the denominator is also the same as the mixed fraction. So I am putting 4 without changing the denominator. So the only thing here I am going to change is the numerator. So how I got that numerator? First, I multiplied these two numbers, 4 into 1, 4. Then I am going to add number 3 to that number. So 4 plus 3 is 7, right? Then the next example, 2, 1 over 3. Right? For these mixed fractions, now we are going to find out the improper fraction, right? Right. So what is the first thing we are going to do? We have to multiply 3 by 2. So 3 by 2 means 6. 6, and then we have to add 1 to that number. 6 plus 1, 7. Right? Here 7 is coming as the numerator of the improper fraction, and the denominator is going to be 3 because we are not changing that denominator, right? Then the last one, 7, 2 over 5. So for this mixed fraction, the improper fraction is 5 into 7, 35. 35 plus 2, 37. 37. Then as the denominator, I'm going to put 5. Right. Now we have learned how to convert mixed fractions into improper fractions, right? That's very easy. What did we do? We multiplied these two numbers first, 4 into 1, 4. Then we added this number 3 into that answer, right? So 4 plus 3 means 7. 7 over 4. 2 into 3, 6. 6 plus 1, 7. 7 over 3. 5 into 7, 35. 35 plus 2, 37. 37 over 5. Keep it in your mind, when we are converting mixed fractions into improper fractions, we are not changing the denominator. The denominator is same. The only thing we are changing is the numerator, right? The next thing we are going to do is converting improper fractions into mixed fractions. When we converted mixed fractions into improper fractions, we multiplied these two numbers and add this number, right? But here, when we are converting the improper fractions into mixed fractions, we have to divide. So I will consider these three improper fractions, right? The first one is 7 over 4. This is called an improper fractions. Why? Because the numerator is greater than the denominator, right? So now I am going to convert this into mixed fractions, right? So how I am going to convert this into mixed fractions? First, I am going to divide number 7 from 4, right? How many 4s are there for 7? Only 1. 4 into 1, 4. 7 minus 4, 3, right? Now, how I am going to write this mixed fraction? Number 1. So here I'm going to write number 1 as the whole number, right? So as we did here, I'm not going to change the denominator. So the 4 is the denominator. The remaining part, the remainder is number 3. So I am going to put it like this. So here, as you can see, I have got the same answer that we discussed as earlier, right? Now we can see what is the mixed fraction for this improper fraction 7 over 4, 1, 3 over 4. So this is the way of getting that one, right? So the number here, I have considered it as the whole number. The remainder, I have put it in the numerator of the fraction, right? So I think you can understand this one easily, right? The next one, 7 over 3, right? So now I'm going to find out the mixed fraction for the improper fraction 7 over 3. 7 is here, 3, I have to divide it by 3. So how many 3s are there for 7? 2. 3 into 2, 6. 7 minus 6, 1, right? So this 2, I have to put it like here. Then I'm not going to change this denominator. 3 is here, right? So the remainder, I'm going to put it as the numerator. It's very easy, right? 2, 1 over 7. That's the mixed fraction we are getting for the improper fraction 7 over 3, right? Then the next one, 37 over 5, right? 37 over 5. Right. So what we have to do, we have to divide 37 from 5. So for 37, there are 7 5s. 5 into 7, 35. 37 minus 35 is 2. Right? Here, this 7, I am going to put it as the whole number. Then I'm not going to change the denominator. Right? Then the last thing I'm going to do to put this remainder as the numerator, like this, right? So this is the way of converting improper fractions into mixed fractions, right? So now we have discussed how to convert mixed fraction into improper fractions and improper fraction into mixed fractions, right? Right. So the last type of fraction is the number 5. The fifth number we are going to discuss is equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are called as the fractions which are equal to a certain fraction, right? So if someone asks you to find out an equivalent fraction for this given fraction, you can do like this. Here you can see that the numerator is 1, the denominator is 2. So if you want to find out an equivalent fraction, you can multiply these two numbers or divide these two numbers with the same number. Here, as an example, I will write an equivalent fraction for this given fraction like this. I'm going to multiply both these numerator and the denominator by 2. Then I get 2 into 1, 2, 2 into 2, 4. So for this given equivalent, for this given fraction 1 over 2, the equivalent fraction is 2 over 4. Right? In the same way, I can write more equivalent fractions for this given fraction, half. So now I'm going to multiply it by 9, right? You can multiply it by any kind of a number. It doesn't matter. But the thing is, you have to multiply with the same number. Both the numerator and the denominator should be multiplied by the same number. So 9 into 1, 9, 9 into 2, 18. 9 over 18 is the equivalent fraction for 1 over 2. So likewise, we can consider so many equivalent fraction for a given fraction, right? So this is example number 1, example number 2, then the example number 3. Here in these two, I did a multiplication. Earlier I told you we can find equivalent fractions either by multiplying or dividing. So now if I take something like this here, if they ask you to find out an equivalent fraction, now you know that you can easily multiply the both the numerator and the denominator by a certain number, and you can get an equivalent fraction. But here I am going to do a division. How I'm going to do a division? I'm going to divide this numerator and the denominator by the same number, which is 2, right? 6 divided by 2, 3, 8 divided by 2, 4, right? As you can see, 6 over 8 has an equivalent fraction called 3 over 4. The next one, 12 over 24. Now, you can take any kind of a number. Here you can divide both these numerator and denominator by 2, by 3, by 4, by 6, or even by 12 also. So now I am going to divide it by 12. You can choose whatever you want, right? Right? So 12 divided by 12, 1. 24 divided by 12, 2. 1 over 2 is the equivalent fraction which we get if we have the number 12 and 24 as the numerator and the denominator, right? So here, as you can see, the equivalent fractions are very easy. The only thing we have to do is to multiply or divide the numerator and the denominator by the same fraction, by the same number, right? So these are the 5 types.